Hi, I'm Cheryl. Be making this birthday card today, and what makes this a little different is that it has an uneven border on the bottom. So yes, we're going to do some fussy cutting. I've got my little scissors out, and then I stamped this on the inside, and of course no greeting or anything, as I so often do. So let's get started on the card. I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and this is 4 1/4 by 11, and then it's scored and folded at 5 1/2 inches, so that it opens this way. That'll be the long half of a sheet of cardstock. That's our card. That's our whole card right there. Got my Wink of Stella pen. We're going to add a little bit of glimmer to it. I'm using the Pendant Painted stamp set. I'm going to be using this flower, this piece, this, and this one. It's a triple, 3-stage stamp there. And I'm going to use the leaves and just this one. So a double stage stamp, and then I have my dots. My row of dots right here. I'm going to be using that and this little bitty piece here up here for the center of the flowers. I've got my mini Misty out, and I have a stamp mounted on that already. That's the happy birthday, and that's by a company called Artneko. I'll put that information down in my thing. We're using Tuxedo Black, Pear Pizzaz, Melon Mambo, and Pink Pirouette. And then I've already cut out some stamp masks. So I just stamped on a piece of paper and then fussy cut around the edge. I used a thin paper. That works better for masking, because if you use a thick cardstock, then whatever you're stamping over top doesn't get right to the edge like on a piece of thin paper. So let's get started on this. From the bottom of the card, I'm gonna measure up about 1/2 inch from the bottom, and I'm just going to make a very light line. So I probably should have told you a ruler and a pencil would be handy for this. So I'm just going to make a very light line there, and that will give me a guide for where I want the bottoms of my flowers to be. So when I open it up, I want to be able to see those dots on the inside. So we'll start out with the Memento Black. And we're using the sketchy outline flower first. So there's one. I'm going to do the one in the center first. There's that one. Now I'll cover that up with one of my masks. Then I'll do the ones on the edges, and you want to line it up so that, let me do it this way, so that your flower actually goes off the edge a little bit, because you want these all to kind of connect. That's very important when we start the fussy cut. And there we go. So now I move the tape, and I can start adding some of the leaves in. Let's see. Let me grab the leaf ones. I just use this one. If you notice, I cut my leaves in half. They come actually like this. Okay, but I cut them in half because sometimes I only want to use one or the other leaf. And you can see I can just put them back on my block again and position them, and they're just as good as new. The only downside is that if you should ever need to return them, because you've altered them, you won't be able to do that. Okay, I think I'll put my other mask here too. Alright, so now I've got my masks in place. And I can stamp some leaves in here. Let me get one right there in the middle. And one coming up here. Oh, there's a smudge. Let's see if I can cover that up a little bit. There. And one there, I think. Then I'll move this over to the other side here and cover the flower on this end. And there we go. That's a good amount of leaves, I think. And now we'll get our flower, the filler one. That's the one that has a lot of area here, and that'll give kind of a watercolory effect. You'll notice on the stamp that it has areas that are I don't know, they're kind of rough, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's what gives it the watercolory look. I'll use the pink Pirouette for that. Let me get that on my block. You'll also notice on these stamps there's little arrows on them. That helps you decide how to align them. Let's see there. See that little pointy thing there? That's supposed to be there. Some people trim that off. Sometimes I do too, but I've left it on this stamp set. But it's supposed to help you to figure out how you're supposed to stamp your different layers. So there's my pink Pirouette one. And I'm not masking on these because I really don't feel that it's necessary, even though these flowers do overlap a bit. And there we go. Let's stamp that one. And now we can go to the third layer on the flower. And let's see, where did it get to? Oh, here it is. I had it right here, all handy to use. And we're going to stamp that in the Melon Mambo ink. And just center that on there. And if you're a little off, it really doesn't matter. But it is good to have it somewhat near where you're supposed to be. And there we go. So that's all done. Put that aside. And while we're doing, let's do the centers too. We're going to get our Pear Pizzaz out. We'll need that for the leaves. And just stamp that in the center. Easy peasy. Alright, now I need my masks again. Let's see, there's one there. And I'll put this one here. And we'll do the leaves on this half of the card. Let me see if I move that tape, I can put that over both masks. There we go. But now I need my leaf filler right there. Get that inked up. And just stamp that in place. That one could use a little more color. Let's see. There we go. Alright, time to move the mask. And we can do the other half of the leaves. Here we go. Alright, so our stamping as far as the flowers is done. Let me get my Misty Mate in here. I've got this all lined up already where I want my happy birthday. This makes it so easy because there's a grid on the lid. And I just put my stamp pretty much where I want it. And then I use the grid to check my alignment to make sure that it's straight. Get that inked up real well. And if I don't get it inked up real well, the nice thing about the Misty is that I can re-stamp it, but I got a good impression, so I don't have to stamp it a second time. It would have been so nice, it would have just gone right back. It would have just gone right where, oh, I have my magnets in my hand. It would have gone right exactly in the same spot. Okay. So let's open the card and do our dots. So I've got my dots all here and my Pear Pizzaz ink. And let's see, we do a line of them just along the bottom. And there is a stamp in the set that does just one dot, but I'm just going to stamp off the side. Okay. Then I have them, the next row I go in between each of the dots and above. So you see how I did that? I didn't line them up. Oop. I didn't line them up. They're kind of, the next line is offset. And then one more row, and that'll be offset from the previous one. Okay, wipe this up so we don't have Pear Pizzaz all over the place. And now all that's left is just to fussy cut out along the bottom, and I think everybody knows how to fussy cut. You know, I'm going to get rid of some of this excess paper. That makes it easier. There. That will make our lives much easier. And if you move your paper instead of your scissors, that also helps. And this is just a nice one-layer card, so easy to send through the mail. But with the flowers overlapped the way they are, it does give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to add a little wink of Stella to my flowers and give them just a little bit of a glimmer. But you could go crazy and do some rhinestones. Okay, so now I have it cut out. And you see, I can see my nice little dots down the bottom. And I'm just going to add a little wink of Stella. Just to jazz it up a little. Just adds just a little touch of shine to it. And a little bit in the centers here too. Okay, and there's our card. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then be sure to hit the like button down below. And if you want to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to shop with me for any of the Stampin' Up! Products I've used, you can do that either through my Facebook page or my website. So y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stampin'.